The great council chamber floated in the darkness of space, its lights blazing like a small star. Inside, hundreds of beings from across the galaxy gathered around the circular table. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own light. But today, they all shared the same expression of worry. Speaker Velnorix stood at the center podium, his long arms spread wide. He had called this emergency meeting, and everyone knew why. The humans had gone silent. 3 months, Velnorix said, his voice echoing through the chamber. For 3 months, humanity has not answered a single message. Not one. A small creature with 6 eyes spoke up from the eastern section. Perhaps their communication systems are broken? All of them? Another delegate shouted. Every human colony? Every space station? Every ship? All at the same time? The chamber erupted into worried chatter. Velnorix raised his arms for silence. It is worse than that. 2 weeks ago, we sent a medical supply ship to the human colony on Kepler 442. They turned it away at the border. No explanation. Just a simple message. Leave. A tall being made of crystalline structures stood up. The humans have been our allies for 50 years. They helped us fight the plague wars. They shared their technology. Why would they abandon us now? Far away from the council chamber, near the edge of human space, Commander Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his warship. The Indomitable was the pride of the human fleet, armed with weapons that could crack a moon in half. But today, it simply waited and watched. Commander, his first officer called out. Another council ship is approaching the border. Hyun-woo looked at the display screen. A small transport vessel, carrying food and medicine. Probably another gift from one of the younger species, hoping to restart communication. His jaw tightened. Send the standard message, he ordered. The communications officer nodded and pressed a button. The same message that had been sent 100 times before. Humanity declines all contact. Do not approach our territories. This is your only warning. On the transport ship, the crew received the message and stopped their engines. The captain, a young being with bright purple skin, stared at the screen in confusion. But we just want to talk, she whispered. The human warship didn't respond. It just sat there in the darkness, its weapons systems tracking every movement of the transport ship. After an hour of waiting, the transport turned around and left. Hyun-woo watched them go. He felt a heavy weight in his chest. These people had done nothing wrong. They were friends, allies. But his orders were clear. No contact. No exceptions. Not until the problem was solved. His first officer stepped closer, speaking quietly. Sir, the crew is asking questions. They want to know why we're doing this. Tell them what I tell you, Hyun-woo replied. We have our orders from Earth. Follow them without question. But sir, without question, officer. The first officer saluted and walked away. Hyun-woo remained standing at the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the Void Nebula, something terrible was waking up, and humanity had to stop it before anyone else even knew it existed. Back at the council chamber, the debate continued for hours. Some species wanted to send a military fleet to demand answers. Others suggested cutting all trade agreements with humanity. The younger species, those who depended on human protection and technology, simply looked scared. What if they're preparing for war? Someone asked. War against who? Velnorix responded. They have no enemies. We are all at peace. Then what are they hiding? Nobody had an answer. In a small research station orbiting Mars, Dr. Ji-won sat in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays. Numbers and equations floated in the air around her. She had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red, and her hands shook as she typed. Doctor, you need to rest, her assistant said, bringing her a cup of coffee. I can't rest, Ji-won replied without looking up. Not until I find a solution. But you've been working non-stop since we returned from the nebula. Ji-won finally looked at her assistant. Do you know what we found out there? Do you understand what's coming? The assistant nodded slowly. Everyone at the research station knew. They had all seen the data. An ancient weapon system, buried in the Void Nebula for millions of years. And somehow, their exploration ship had activated it. We have maybe 6 months, Jiwan said quietly. 6 months before that thing fully powers up. And when it does, it won't just destroy humanity. It will sterilize every planet in this sector of the galaxy. Billions will die. So, we're protecting them by staying silent? Would you rather cause a galaxy-wide panic? Imagine if we told the Council. Every species would scramble to save themselves. There would be chaos. Wars over evacuation rights. The whole galactic civilization would collapse before the weapon even fired. The assistant set down the coffee and left quietly. Jiwan turned back to her equations. Somewhere in these numbers was the answer. A way to shut down the weapon. A way to save everyone without them ever knowing they were in danger. At the council chamber, the meeting finally ended. No decisions were made. No actions were taken. The delegates returned to their ships. Worried and confused, Velnorix remained behind, standing alone in the empty chamber. He had known the human ambassador personally. They had shared drinks and stories. He could not believe his friend would abandon the galaxy without reason. There must be an explanation, he said to the empty room. In the darkness outside the chamber, a message buoy activated. It had been floating there for weeks, programmed to send a signal at this exact time. The message was simple, recorded in Hyunwoo's voice. To the Galactic Council, humanity has not abandoned you. We are protecting you. Do not send ships to our space. Do not try to make contact. Trust us, and stay away. This is not a threat. This is a promise. We will handle this. But the message buoy malfunctioned. The signal never sent. It drifted away into space, carrying humanity's explanation, where no one would ever hear it. The silence continued. The diplomatic vessel, Harmony's Voice, was the most beautiful ship in the Galactic Council fleet. Its hull shimmered, with colors that represented every member species. 5 ambassadors sat in the main cabin, reviewing their speeches and preparing gifts of peace. They were certain this was all a misunderstanding. Ambassador Kelrith, a being with flowing tentacles and kind eyes, looked at the others. Remember, humans are emotional creatures. Perhaps something tragic happened, and they need time to grieve. We must approach with compassion. The others nodded in agreement. They had all worked with humans before. Good people, generous traders, brave warriors who defended the weak. This silence made no sense. Approaching human space in 1 hour, the ship's pilot announced. The ambassadors prepared themselves. They wore their finest ceremonial robes. The cargo hold was filled with gifts, rare metals, beautiful artworks, and medical supplies. Surely the humans would see their good intentions. On the Indomitable, Commander Hyunwoo watched the diplomatic ship approach on his scanner. He felt a knot form in his stomach. This was different from the cargo ships and random travelers. This was an official council delegation. Sir, should we send the warning message? His communications officer asked. Not yet, Hyunwoo replied. Let them get closer. Let them see what's waiting for them. The crew looked confused but followed orders. They trusted their commander, even when they didn't understand his decisions. The Harmony's Voice crossed into the outer zone of human space. Immediately, 3 human patrol ships appeared on their scanners, following them at a distance. The ambassadors noticed but weren't worried. It was normal for any territory to monitor unknown vessels. Send them our diplomatic credentials, Kelrith ordered. Let them know we come in peace. The message was sent. There was no response. They traveled deeper into human space. More patrol ships appeared. Then more. Within an hour, 20 human warships were surrounding them, all maintaining perfect formation, but not saying a word. This is unusual, one ambassador whispered. Perhaps their communication systems truly are damaged, another suggested. Kelrith tried again. Attention human vessels. This is Ambassador Kelrith of the Galactic Council. We request permission to speak with your leaders. We come as friends. Silence. The Harmony's voice continued forward. The ambassador's confidence began to fade as they saw more and more human ships appearing from empty space. These ships had been hiding, their stealth systems active, waiting. On the Indomitable, Hyun-woo's tactical officer reported, "Sir, they've reached the inner boundary line. All ships, decloak," Hyun-woo commanded. "Show them everything." Across human space, hundreds of warships deactivated their stealth systems all at once. They appeared on scanners like stars, suddenly igniting in the night. Massive battleships, quick fighters, and weapons platforms bristling with enough firepower to level a planet. The Harmony's voice stopped moving. The ambassadors stared at their scanner screens in shock. "How many ships is that?" someone asked. "Over 300, the pilot replied, his voice shaking. "And these are just the ones we can see." Kelrith stood up, trying to maintain composure. "This is clearly a show of force. They want us to know they're serious about their isolation. We must remain calm and—" The communication system crackled to life. Every screen in the Harmony's voice displayed the same image. Commander Hyun-woo, standing on his bridge, his face stern and tired. "You were warned," Hyun-woo said, his voice cold. "Turn back now. We will not ask again." Kelrith stepped forward. "Commander, please. We are not your enemies. We simply want to understand. Whatever is wrong, we can help. The Council stands ready to assist humanity with any problem you face." Hyun-woo's expression didn't change. "You cannot help. You can only leave. But why? What happened? Are you under attack? Is there a plague? Please, just tell us what's wrong." For a brief moment, something flickered in Hyun-woo's eyes. Pain, perhaps, or regret. But it vanished quickly, replaced by cold determination. "This conversation is over. You have 10 minutes to turn your ship around and leave human space. If you refuse, we will escort you out by force." The screen went dark. The ambassadors sat in stunned silence. This wasn't the humanity they knew. These weren't the same people who had helped them build schools and hospitals. Something had changed, and whatever it was, it frightened them. "We should leave," one ambassador said. "No," Kelrith replied. "We came here to open dialogue. We cannot give up so easily. Did you see how many ships they have? They're not bluffing." Kelrith thought for a moment. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them what we've found. Then we'll retreat, but we'll leave a communication buoy here. Maybe in time," Kelrith thought, "anywhence, the humans will be ready to talk." The pilot nodded and began turning the ship around. But as they moved, something unexpected happened. A small human fighter broke formation and approached the Harmony's voice. It was moving erratically, as if the pilot was struggling with the controls. "Sir, we have an incoming vessel," the pilot reported. "It's not hostile, just approaching." Inside that fighter sat pilot Minho, his hands gripping the controls tightly. He had disobeyed direct orders. He knew he would be arrested when he returned, but he couldn't let these people leave without knowing the truth. He opened a private communication channel to the Harmony's voice. "Ambassador Kelrith, can you hear me?" Kelrith rushed to the communication panel. Yes, we can hear you. Who is this?" "My name is Minho. I'm a fighter pilot. I don't have much time before they drag me back. You need to listen carefully." "We're listening. Humanity isn't your enemy. We found something old and dangerous. We're trying to protect you, not threaten you. Please, trust us. Stay away from the Void Nebula. Stay away from us. And pray we find a solution in time." "A solution to what? What did you find?" But before Minho could answer, 2 human warships locked tractor beams on his fighter and began pulling him back. His communication was cut off. Kelrith watched helplessly as the fighter was dragged away. What was he trying to tell us? What? 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 The Harmony's voice completed its turn and began leaving human space. The massive fleet of human warships watched them go but did not pursue. They simply returned to their positions, guarding the border like silent sentinels. On the Indomitable, Hyunwoo watched the diplomatic ship depart. His first officer approached him. "Sir, Pilot Minho has been arrested for breaking formation and unauthorized communication." Hyunwoo closed his eyes. "Bring him to the brig. We'll deal with him later. He was trying to help them understand, sir." "I know," Hyunwoo replied quietly. "But understanding won't save them. Only silence will. Only giving us time to work." As the Harmony's voice crossed the border and entered neutral space, the ambassadors sat together, trying to make sense of what had happened. "He said they found something," Kelrith said. "Something in the Void Nebula. Should we investigate?" Kelrith shook his head. "No. We report this to the Council. All of it. The fleet, the warning, and the pilot's message. Then we let them decide what to do." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying news that would change everything. Behind them, human space remained closed and silent, hiding a secret that could save or doom the entire galaxy. The council chamber had never been so loud. Delegates shouted at each other, their translators struggling to keep up with the chaos. Some demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others wanted to close all borders and prepare for war. A few simply sat in shocked silence. Speaker Velnorix slammed his staff on the floor, creating a booming sound that echoed through the chamber. Slowly, the shouting died down. Kelrith stood at the center, having just finished his report about the encounter with the human fleet. 300 warships, a delegate said slowly, and that was just what they allowed you to see. How many more do they have hidden? That's not the important question, another delegate replied. The important question is, what are they planning to do with all those ships? Velnorix raised his staff again. We need answers, not speculation. I am assigning our best intelligence officer to investigate this matter. He will find out what the humans are hiding. A door at the back of the chamber opened. A human walked in, wearing the uniform of the Galactic Council Intelligence Division. His name was Taeyang, and he had lived among the Council species for 15 years. He had left Earth long ago, choosing a life among the stars instead of staying with his own people. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. A human? Investigating humans? Could he be trusted? Taeyang walked to the center of the chamber and bowed respectfully. Speaker Velnorix, I accept this assignment, but I must be clear about something. I may be human by birth, but I serve the Council now. Good, Velnorix said. You have full access to all Council resources. Find out what humanity is hiding. Taeyang left the chamber and went directly to his office, a small room filled with computers and holographic displays. He sat down and began his work. First, he pulled up the timeline of human activity over the past 6 months. The computers displayed thousands of data points. Ship movements, communication logs, trade records, everything. He noticed something immediately. 3 months ago, a human exploration vessel called the Pioneer's Dream had traveled to the Void Nebula for a routine survey mission. It was supposed to return in 2 weeks, but there was no record of its return. Computer, show me all communications from the Pioneer's Dream, Taeyang commanded. The screen displayed several routine reports from the first week of the mission. Then, nothing. The ship had simply gone silent. Taeyang leaned forward. This was important. He dug deeper. 2 weeks after the Pioneer's Dream went silent, every single human scientific expedition was recalled. Research ships that had been studying distant stars for years suddenly abandoned their missions and returned to human space. No explanation given. 1 month after that, a massive research vessel called the Discovery appeared on scanners, traveling at maximum speed toward Earth. The ship belonged to Dr. Jiwan. one of humanity's most brilliant scientists. Where had she been? Taeyang wondered aloud. He checked the logs. The discovery had been in the Void Nebula, the same place the pioneer's dream had disappeared. Taeyang felt his heart beat faster. This was the connection. Something happened in the Void Nebula. Something that made the humans panic. He tried to access Dr. Ji-won's mission reports, but they were classified. Even his high-level security clearance wasn't enough. The humans had locked down all information about that expedition. I need to see those reports, Taeyang said to himself. He knew what he was about to do was illegal. Breaking into classified files could get him arrested. But the galaxy needed answers. His fingers moved across the keyboard. He had been trained by the best hackers in the council. He knew their security systems better than most humans. Slowly, carefully, he began breaking through the encryption. It took him 3 days. 3 days of barely eating or sleeping, just focused on cracking the code. Finally, on the 3rd night, the files opened. What he saw made his blood run cold. The pioneer's dream hadn't just disappeared. It had found something. An ancient structure buried deep in the Void Nebula. The crew had sent one message before their ship was destroyed. We found something. Ancient technology. Defensive system. It's activating. Oh God. Then, silence. Dr. Ji-won had been sent to investigate. Her report was detailed and terrifying. The structure was a weapon platform, built by a species that had died out millions of years ago. It was designed to destroy all biological life in the galaxy to prevent some ancient threat. But the threat was long gone. The weapon didn't know that. It was simply following its programming. Eliminate all life. And the pioneer's dream had accidentally activated it. Taeyang read further. Dr. Ji-won estimated the weapon would be fully operational in 6 months. When that happened, it would begin firing on every planet with biological signatures. Billions would die, maybe trillions. The report also explained humanity's response. They had decided not to tell the Council, because the news would cause panic. Species would fight each other for evacuation rights. The galactic civilization would tear itself apart before the weapon even fired. Instead, humanity chose to work in secret, hoping to find a way to shut down the weapon before it was too late. That's why they went silent. That's why they built up their fleet. They weren't preparing for war. They were preparing to protect everyone while they searched for a solution. Taeyang sat back in his chair, his mind racing. He had to tell the Council. They had to know the truth. But before he could move, alarms blared throughout his office. Security officers burst through the door, weapons drawn. Taeyang, you are under arrest for unauthorized access to classified information, the lead officer announced. Taeyang stood up slowly, raising his hands. You don't understand. I found the truth. The humans aren't the enemy. There's a weapon. Save it for your trial, the officer said, putting restraints on Taeyang's wrists. They dragged him out of his office and through the corridors of the station. Other workers stopped and stared. A human being, arrested for spying. It confirmed what many already suspected. Humanity could not be trusted. As they pulled him into the detention center, Taeyang shouted back at them. Listen to me. The humans found an ancient weapon. It's in the Void Nebula. They're trying to save us. But no one listened. Security doors closed, cutting off his voice. In the council chamber, Speaker Velnerix received the report of Taeyang's arrest. He shook his head sadly. So, even their own people turned to espionage. This confirms my worst fears. A military delegate stood up. Speaker, we can no longer wait. We must act. I propose we send a military fleet to human space and demand they surrender and explain themselves. Other delegates murmured in agreement. The fear had turned to anger. And anger demanded action. Very well, Velnorix said. Assemble the fleet. We will give humanity one chance to explain themselves peacefully. If they refuse, we will force them to comply. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only a few delegates abstained, still hoping for a peaceful resolution. As the council began preparing for war, deep in the detention center, Taeyang sat in his cell. He had failed. The truth was out there in his files, but no one would look at it now. They would see it as the lies of a traitor. He put his head in his hands. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry. I couldn't make them understand." Outside, the largest military fleet in Council history began to assemble. Ships from dozens of species gathered, their weapons armed and ready. And in human space, Commander Hyun-woo watched the fleet gather on his long-range scanners. He knew what was coming. The moment he had dreaded. "Contact Earth Command," he said quietly. "Tell them it's time. The Council is coming. And they're bringing everything they have." The Council fleet was a sight that would be remembered for generations. Over 500 warships from 30 different species, all flying in perfect formation. It was the largest display of military power in galactic history, and it was all headed toward human space. Speaker Velnorix stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Justice. He wore ceremonial armor, hoping he wouldn't need it but prepared for the worst. Around him, military commanders from various species studied their battle plans. "We're approaching human territory in 1 hour," the navigation officer announced. Velnorix nodded. "Prepare the message. One final chance for peace." On Earth, in the command center buried deep beneath the surface, the human leadership gathered around a holographic display. The Council fleet glowed red on the scanner, an unstoppable wall of firepower approaching their borders. The President of Earth looked tired. She had not slept in days. "Status report on Dr. Jiwon's mission?" A military officer responded. "She's in the Void Nebula now with her team. They've located the weapons control center, but the ancient defenses are stronger than expected. She needs more time." "How much time?" "At least 3 days, maybe 4. The President closed her eyes. "We don't have 3 days. The Council fleet will be here in an hour. Ma'am, we can hold them off. Our defenses are strong." "And how many will die in that battle? Theirs and ours?" She shook her head. "No. We're trying to save lives, not take them. But we can't let them through either." "Not yet." Far away, deep in the Void Nebula, Dr. Jiwon's ship drifted silently toward the ancient weapon platform. It was massive, larger than a moon, covered in technology that humanity could barely understand. "I'm reading defensive systems activating," Pilot Minho said from the controls. He had been released from the brig for this mission. They needed their best pilot. "Can you get us through?" Jiwon asked. "Maybe. If Yuna can handle the weapons." Combat specialist Yuna sat at the weapons console, her fingers dancing across the controls. "I'll do my best. But this technology is millions of years old. I've never seen anything like it." The ship shook as an ancient defense drone fired on them. Yuna returned fire, destroying it. But 3 more appeared to take its place. "There's too many," Minho shouted, pulling the ship into a sharp dive. Jiwon grabbed the communications panel. "Team 2, we need support. Can you draw some of these drones away?" Another human ship appeared on the scanners, firing at the drones and pulling several away from Jiwon's vessel. It gave them just enough time to slip past the outer defenses. "We're through," Minho said, breathing hard. Approaching the control center now. At the border of human space, the Council fleet slowed to a stop. Facing them was the entire human defense fleet. Commander Hyun-woo's Indomitable sat at the center, flanked by hundreds of other warships. The 2 fleets stared at each other across the empty space, weapons armed, shields raised, fingers hovering over firing controls. Velnorix opened a communication channel. His face appeared on every human ship's display. "Commander Hyun-woo, I presume we are speaking to you. The Galactic Council demands an explanation for your actions. Stand down and allow our diplomats to enter your space. We will not ask again." On the Indomitable, Hyun-woo looked at the overwhelming force arrayed against him. He could fight. His fleet was well trained, and their technology was advanced. But the Council had numbers. So many numbers. The battle would be devastating for both sides. He activated his own communication channel. Speaker Velnorix, I cannot allow you to enter human space. Not today. Please, turn back. Give us more time. Time for what? What are you hiding? Hyunwoo hesitated. His orders were clear. Maintain silence. But looking at that massive fleet, he wondered if silence was still the right choice. His first officer leaned close. Sir, Earth Command is sending updated orders. They say the choice is yours. You're authorized to tell them the truth if you believe it will prevent bloodshed. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. He was about to break months of silence. Speaker Velnorix, 3 months ago, we discovered, suddenly, every scanner on every ship in both fleets screamed an alarm. A massive energy signature had just appeared on the edge of their detection range. It was coming from the Void Nebula. The ancient weapon had fired its first test shot. The tactical displays showed a beam of pure energy lancing through space, crossing 40 light-years in seconds. It struck an uninhabited star system, and the entire system simply ceased to exist. The star, the planets, everything was gone, converted to raw energy and scattered atoms. Silence fell across both fleets. Council and human alike stared at their screens in horror. What was that? Velnorix whispered. Hyunwoo's voice was hollow. That was what we've been trying to stop. An ancient weapon platform in the Void Nebula. We discovered it 3 months ago. We've been working day and night to shut it down before it could do that. But that system, it's 40 light-years away. How did it? The weapon doesn't care about distance. It targets biological signatures across the entire sector. That was just a test shot. When it reaches full power in 3 days, it will fire continuously. Every planet with life will be destroyed. Yours, ours, everyone's. The Council Fleet Command Center erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted questions and demands. Some wanted to retreat immediately. Others couldn't process what they had just witnessed. Velnorix raised his hand for silence. When he spoke again, his voice was shaking. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed us? Would you have stayed calm? We made a choice. Maybe the wrong choice. We decided to protect the galaxy by staying silent while we searched for a solution. And have you found one? Dr. Jiwon and her team are at the weapon platform now. They're trying to reach the control center. If they can reprogram it, they can shut it down. But they need time. Why? Velnorix looked at his military commanders. The anger in their eyes had changed to fear. How long do they need? 3 days. That thing will be fully active in 3 days. You just said so yourself. I know. Hyunwoo replied. That's why we need to buy them time. Someone needs to distract the weapon. Keep it focused on something other than charging up its main systems. You mean a battle? Yes, a battle we cannot win. A suicide mission to draw its attention while Dr. Jiwon works. The council commanders looked at each other. One of them, a scarred veteran with medals covering his chest, spoke up. Commander Hyunwoo, if what you say is true, then we've been preparing to fight the wrong enemy. Yes, then perhaps it's time we fought together, against the real threat. Hyunwoo felt something break inside him. Relief. Maybe. Or hope. You would help us? After everything we've done? Velnorix stepped forward on his display. You were trying to protect us. We understand that now. And if we're all going to die anyway, we might as well die fighting side by side. Across both fleets, the mood shifted. Weapon systems were powered down. Shield frequencies were shared. Battle plans were coordinated. 2 hours ago, they had been on the brink of war with each other. Now, they were preparing to face extinction, together. Hyunwoo opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, human and council, prepare for combat operations. Target is the ancient weapon platform in the Void Nebula. Our mission is simple. Keep that thing busy, while our scientists save the galaxy. 500 warships turned as one and set course for the Void Nebula. And at the weapon platform, Dr. Jiwan's team finally breached the outer hull of the control center. "We're in," she reported. "Beginning the shutdown sequence now." The combined fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Void Nebula. Before them floated the ancient weapon platform, larger than a moon, its surface covered in technology from a civilization that had been dead for millions of years. Energy crackled across its hull as it continued powering up. Commander Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, now serving as the flagship for both human and council forces. Speaker Velnoric stood beside him, along with commanders from a dozen other species. Former enemies, now allies in the face of extinction. "All ships report ready," the tactical officer announced. Hyun-woo looked at the weapon platform on his display. "Remember, our job isn't to destroy that thing. We probably can't. Our job is to keep it distracted, while Dr. Jiwan's team shuts it down from inside." "How do we distract something that large?" a council commander asked. "We make ourselves the biggest threat it can see. We attack with everything we have." Velnorix nodded. "Then let's give it something to worry about." The combined fleet moved forward in attack formation. 500 warships against a weapon built to sterilize galaxies. The weapon platform noticed them immediately. Its defensive systems activated, and thousands of ancient drones poured from launch bays that hadn't opened in millions of years. Each drone was the size of a fighter craft, armed with energy weapons that could slice through modern shields like paper. "Here they come," someone shouted. The battle began. Space lit up with weapons fire. Human railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Council energy beams carved through the darkness. The ancient drones responded with weapons that shouldn't have still worked after so long, but did. Ships on both sides took damage immediately. A council cruiser lost its engines and began drifting. 2 human destroyers were cut in half by drone fire. But for every ship that fell, a dozen more pressed forward. Inside the weapon platform, Dr. Jiwan and her team ran through corridors that hadn't seen living beings in eons. Emergency lights flickered overhead, responding to their presence. "The control center should be at the core," Jiwan said, checking her scanner. "We're getting close." Pilot Minho kept his weapon ready, watching for any automated defenses. "This place gives me nightmares. Who builds something like this?" "Species that were terrified," Jiwan replied. "The database fragments we recovered suggest they built this weapon to defend against an invasion from another dimension. Something that ate entire planets. Did it work? They're all dead. So probably not. But the weapon survived. And now it thinks we're the threat. It was built to stop." They reached a massive door covered in symbols from a dead language. Yuna placed charges on the hinges. "Everyone stand back." The explosion echoed through the empty halls. The door fell inward, revealing the control center. It was a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and control systems that looked both impossibly advanced and impossibly ancient. "I'm reading active systems," Jiwan said, rushing to the central console. "The weapon is at 70% charge. When it hits 100%, it will begin firing on every planet in range. How long do we have?" 2 hours. Maybe less." Jiwan's fingers moved across the alien controls. The symbols made no sense at first, but she had studied the fragments recovered from the pioneer's dream. Slowly, she began to understand the logic behind the system. Outside, the battle grew more desperate. The weapon platform had stopped focusing solely on defense. It was beginning to target the larger ships with its main weapons. A beam lanced out, striking a council dreadnought. The ship's shields held for 3 seconds, then failed. The ship broke apart, scattering debris and escape pods into space. "We're losing too many ships," Velnoric said, watching his people die. Hyun-woo gritted his teeth. "We keep fighting. Every minute we buy them is a minute closer to shutting this thing down." A communication came through from one of the human carriers. "Sir, our fighter squadrons are ready for the suicide run." "Negative," Hyun-woo replied. Hold position. No suicide runs. Not yet. But sir, we could damage the weapon's power systems if we... I said hold position. We're here to buy time, not throw away lives unnecessarily. The carrier acknowledged and pulled back. But Hyun-woo knew they might not have a choice soon. The weapon was too powerful, and they were running out of time. Inside the control center, Ji-won made a discovery. The weapon can't be shut down. The fail-safes won't allow it. It was designed to complete its mission, no matter what. Then we failed? Yuna asked. Not necessarily. I can't shut it down, but I can reprogram it. I can change what it considers a threat. Minho didn't understand. How does that help? Ji-won was already working, her hands moving faster across the controls. The weapon identifies threats by analyzing behavior patterns, communication signatures, and technological markers. It thinks all current life is the interdimensional invasion force it was built to fight. So we need to convince it we're not? Exactly. I'm uploading every peaceful contact protocol humanity has ever created. The Council's charter, the treaties, the trade agreements, the cultural exchanges, everything that proves we're not the enemy. Will it work? I don't know. But it's our only chance. She initiated the upload. Data flowed from her portable computer into the ancient system. Millions of files, billions of pieces of information, all showing the same thing. The current galactic civilization was peaceful, cooperative, and nothing like the threat the weapon was built to destroy. Outside, another ship exploded. Then another. The combined fleet was being torn apart. Hyun-woo received casualty reports and forced himself not to look away. These people were dying because of a choice humanity had made. To work in silence, to protect others without asking for help. Sir, the weapon's main cannon is charging. The tactical officer reported. If it fires at full power, it will destroy everything in this sector. All ships, emergency scatter pattern, Hyun-woo ordered. Get as far from each other as possible. Maybe it can only hit one target at a time. The fleet broke apart, ships racing in different directions. The weapon tracked them, its targeting systems trying to decide which threat to eliminate first. And then it stopped. The energy readings dropped. The drones ceased their attack. The weapon platform simply floated in space, its systems running through new calculations. What's happening? Velnorix asked. Inside the control center, Ji-won watched the displays change. The weapon's artificial intelligence was processing the new information. It was reading the treaties, analyzing the communication protocols, studying the evidence of galactic cooperation. It's working, she whispered. It's actually working. The weapon's display changed color from red to yellow, a warning state instead of combat mode. Then it changed to green. All systems powering down. Minho read from his scanner. It's accepting the new parameters. We're not the enemy anymore. Iminde. Enemy. Iminde. Minho. Ji-won collapsed against the console, exhausted. We did it. We actually did it. Outside, the human and council ships watched as the massive weapon platform went dark. The drones returned to their bays. The energy weapons powered down. The ancient machine had decided that the current galactic civilization was not the threat it was programmed to destroy. Silence fell across the fleet. Not the silence of death, but the silence of relief. Then someone started cheering. The sound spread from ship to ship, species to species. Humans and council members celebrating together, their previous conflicts forgotten in the face of survival. Hyun-woo sat down in his command chair, suddenly feeling every hour of lost sleep from the past 3 months. Get me, Dr. Ji-won. Get me. Her face appeared on the screen, covered in dust but smiling. The weapon is deactivated, Commander. It will continue to monitor the sector for genuine threats, but it won't attack peaceful civilizations anymore. You saved us all, Doctor. We saved each other. If the Council hadn't helped fight, we wouldn't have had time to reprogram the system. Velnorix stepped forward. Dr. Ji-won, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I apologize for doubting humanity's intentions. You were trying to protect us all along. And we apologize for not trusting you with the truth, Jiwon replied. Maybe if we had asked for help from the beginning, we could have avoided all this conflict. Perhaps. Or perhaps the fear would have caused exactly what you hoped to prevent. We'll never know. Aldo. The fleet began the long journey home. Ships that had been enemies hours ago now flew side by side, sharing supplies and helping repair damaged vessels. On the council station, Taeyang was released from detention. He stood in the docking bay as the ships returned, watching the human and council vessels arrive together. Speaker Velnorix approached him. I owe you an apology, Velnorix said. You tried to tell us the truth, and we didn't listen. Taeyang shook his head. I broke the law accessing those files. The arrest was justified, perhaps, but your intentions were noble. And you were right. All charges are being dropped. Thank you, Speaker. They stood together, watching the ships dock. Human crew members greeted council members like old friends. Engineers from different species worked together on repairs. The crisis had created bonds that would last for generations. 1 week later, a formal ceremony was held on Earth. Commander Hyun-woo and Dr. Ji-won stood on a stage before representatives from every council species. They were awarded the highest honors the council could give. But Hyun-woo thought the real victory wasn't the medals. It was the new protocol that had been established. From now on, no species would face galaxy-threatening dangers alone. They would share the burden, share the fear, and share the solutions. As the ceremony ended, Hyun-woo looked up at the stars. The galaxy was still full of dangers. But now, they would face those dangers together. Dr. Ji-won joined him, following his gaze. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about the choice we made. To work alone. We did what we thought was best with the information we had, and almost started a war because of it. But we didn't. In the end, we found a way to trust each other. Human and council, working together. Hyun-woo smiled. Yes, we did. The ancient weapon platform remained in the Void Nebula, watching and waiting. But it no longer saw threats everywhere it looked. It saw species learning to cooperate, to help each other, to build something better than the civilization that had created it. And deep in its ancient programming, something that might have been satisfaction flickered to life. The galaxy was in good hands.